In a small village nestled among green hills, there lived a young woman named Asha. She was known for her kindness and intelligence, but Asha had a problem that troubled her deeply. She was an overthinker. Every decision, every action, and every conversation would swirl around in her mind like a never-ending storm. Asha would often find herself lost in thought, analyzing every detail, considering every possible outcome, and second-guessing her choices. This habit left her feeling anxious, exhausted, and distant from the present moment. One day, after a sleepless night filled with endless worries, Asha decided she needed to change. She realized that her overthinking was not only stealing her peace of mind, but also preventing her from enjoying life. Determined to find a solution, she sought out the wisdom of an old sage who lived at the edge of the village, known for his profound understanding of the mind and spirit. Asha arrived at the sage's small, humble hut early in the morning. She found him sitting quietly on a wooden bench, his eyes closed, lost in meditation. Not wanting to disturb him, she waited patiently until he slowly opened his eyes and smiled warmly at her. "What brings you here, my child?" the sage asked in a gentle voice. Asha took a deep breath and explained her problem. "Respected sir, I am constantly overthinking. My mind never stops, and it makes me anxious and overwhelmed. I don't know how to find peace. Please, can you help me?" The sage listened carefully, nodding as Asha spoke. When she finished, he said, "Asha, you are not alone. Many people struggle with overthinking. The mind is like a wild horse, always running from one thought to another, often to places that do not exist. But there are ways to calm this wild horse, to bring it back to the present moment, and to find peace." Asha's eyes widened with hope. "What can I do, sir? Please teach me how to calm my mind." The sage smiled again. "I will share with you 5 simple techniques that can help you clear your mind and stop overthinking. These techniques are easy to practice, but they require patience and consistency. Are you willing to learn?" Asha nodded eagerly. "Yes, sir, I am ready." Technique 1: Mindful breathing. The sage began with the first technique. The first technique is mindful breathing. Our breath is a powerful tool to anchor us to the present moment. It is always with us, and by focusing on it, we can calm our restless mind. He gestured for Asha to sit down beside him and continued, "Close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs completely. Hold it for a moment, and then exhale slowly through your mouth, letting all the air out." Asha followed his instructions, feeling the cool air entering her nose and the warm air leaving her mouth. As she repeated this process, the sage spoke softly. "As you breathe in, feel the air filling your lungs. As you breathe out, feel the tension leaving your body. Focus only on your breath. If a thought comes into your mind, acknowledge it without judgment and gently bring your focus back to your breath." After a few minutes, Asha opened her eyes. She felt a sense of calm she hadn't experienced in a long time. "I feel lighter," she said with a smile. The sage nodded. Mindful breathing helps you take a step back from your thoughts, creating a space between you and your mind's chatter. It is a simple yet effective way to stop overthinking and find peace in the present moment. Technique 2: The 5 senses grounding. The sage then moved on to the second technique. The second technique is called the 5 senses grounding. It involves focusing on your immediate surroundings and using your senses to bring yourself back to the present. He stood up and gestured around him. "Let's practice it together. Start by looking around and naming 5 things you can see." Asha glanced around and listed 5 things: the green leaves on the tree, the blue sky, the small stream flowing nearby, a bird on a branch, and a flower blooming by the path. "Good," the sage said. "Now, name 4 things you can touch." Asha touched her hair, the rough bark of a tree, the cool surface of a stone, and the soft petals of a flower. "My hair, the tree bark, this stone, and the flower," she replied. "Excellent," the sage continued. "Now, name 3 things you can hear." Asha closed her eyes and listened carefully. "The sound of the stream, the rustling of the leaves, and the chirping of the bird," she said. "Perfect," the sage said. "Now name 2 things you can smell." Asha took a deep breath and smiled. "The fresh scent of the earth and the fragrance of the flowers." Finally, the sage said, "Name 1 thing you can taste." Asha thought for a moment, then said, "The taste of the morning air on my lips." The sage nodded in approval. The five senses grounding technique helps you to connect with the world around you. By focusing on what you can see, touch, hear, smell, and taste, you can distract your mind from overthinking and bring your attention back to the present moment. Technique 3: Journaling. The sage then introduced the third technique. The third technique is journaling. Writing down your thoughts and feelings can help you to understand them better and release them from your mind. He handed Asha a small notebook and a pen. Whenever you find yourself overthinking, take a moment to write down what's on your mind. Don't worry about grammar or spelling, just let your thoughts flow onto the paper. Asha took the notebook and nodded. "I will try this. I often have so many thoughts swirling in my head, and maybe writing them down will help me sort them out." The sage smiled. Exactly. Journaling allows you to express your thoughts and emotions without judgment. It can help you to identify patterns in your thinking and gain insights into what triggers your overthinking. By putting your thoughts on paper, you can free your mind and gain a sense of clarity. Technique 4: Practice self-compassion. The sage then introduced the fourth technique. The fourth technique is practicing self-compassion. Overthinking is often driven by self-criticism and fear. By being kind to yourself, you can break the cycle of negative thinking. He looked at Asha with gentle eyes. Whenever you notice yourself overthinking, take a moment to speak kindly to yourself. Remind yourself that it's okay to make mistakes and that you're doing your best. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a friend. Asha nodded thoughtfully. "I often find myself being very critical of my own actions and decisions. I think practicing self-compassion could help me to be more forgiving of myself." The sage smiled. Indeed, self-compassion helps you to build a positive relationship with yourself. It allows you to accept your imperfections and to understand that everyone makes mistakes. By being kind to yourself, you can reduce your anxiety and stop overthinking. Technique 5: Letting go of control. Finally, the sage introduced the fifth technique. The last technique is learning to let go of control. Overthinking often stems from a desire to control everything and to predict every possible outcome. But the truth is, we cannot control everything in life. Sometimes we just have to let go and trust the process. He paused and looked at Asha. Whenever you find yourself overthinking, ask yourself, is this something I can control? If the answer is no, then let it go. Focus on what you can control: your actions, your attitude, and your responses. Let go of the rest. Asha nodded slowly. "I often worry about things that are beyond my control. I think learning to let go could help me to find peace." The sage smiled. Letting go is not easy, but it is essential for finding peace. By releasing your need for control, you can free yourself from the burden of overthinking and embrace the flow of life. Over the next few weeks, Asha diligently practiced the 5 techniques she had learned from the sage. She began each day with mindful breathing, using her breath to anchor herself in the present moment. She practiced the 5 senses grounding whenever she felt overwhelmed, connecting with the world around her and finding peace in the present. She journaled regularly, writing down her thoughts and feelings and gaining insights into her mind. Asha also practiced self-compassion, speaking kindly to herself and letting go of her inner critic. She learned to let go of control, focusing on what she could change and accepting what she could not. Slowly but surely, Asha began to notice a change in herself. Her mind became calmer, her anxiety faded, and she found herself living more fully in the present moment. One day, as she sat by the stream, listening to the soothing sound of the water, Asha realized that her overthinking had diminished. She felt a sense of peace and contentment that she had not felt in a long time. She smiled, grateful for the wisdom the sage had shared with her. Asha's journey teaches us that overthinking is a habit that can be changed. By practicing simple techniques like mindful breathing, grounding, journaling, self-compassion, and letting go, we can calm our minds and find peace in the present moment. Overthinking may not disappear overnight, but with patience and consistency, we can learn to clear our minds and live more fully in the here and now. Remember, the mind is like a wild horse. It can be tamed with gentle guidance and practice. So take a deep breath, bring your attention back to the present, and embrace the beauty of the moment. Let go of overthinking and find peace in the here and now.